Hey guys, today I played round 2 at Aktobe Open and it was crazy. And the start was even crazy because I was late for the game 30 minutes. I was this close to getting a minus technical loss because of being late. If you are late 30 minutes or more, you get a zero. I was late like 26 minutes, so 4 more minutes and I would be cooked. But thankfully I ran very fast. I had to do some work, including producing some content for you guys. So I hope you appreciate it. So I gave my opponent timeout, and my opponent is none other than Alan Petukhov, one of the strongest junior players in Kazakhstan. He's a FIDE master. He's rated 2313, so nothing to joke about. And of course, he was surprised that I gave him such a time odds. What is more, this game is very, very instructive. We both played at an extremely high accuracy, close to 95%, and the ending of this game is study-like. You will enjoy it. So let's dive into this. I play with the white pieces again 2 times in a row, and I go for the knight c3 Sicilian, close Sicilian, and the bishop b5 is a line that I very often play. He goes knight d4. This is all theory. White is ready to give up the bishop for the knight because white has a lead in development, and this is the compensation for losing the 2 bishops. But black usually does not take. I castle. Black tries to kick in my bishop. I drop back. He takes here. This is one of the lines, and my opponent here played a move that I've never seen. And as you will see by my time usage, bishop d6, this is what he played. I spent lots of time thinking how to react because this move looks weird. It's blocking the d pawn. Usually people go d6 or they go g6 and put the bishop on g7. But actually, I started thinking, and he played this all instantly. Obviously, this was his prep, and I realized it's very good for black, actually. I didn't like my position. I decided I have to spend some time thinking of a plan, because originally in such positions, as always, I wanted to go b3 and put the bishop on b2, etc. But I really didn't like the fact that he will go queen c7, creating this battery. Now my pawn is attacked. The engine says the best move is queen h3 here to protect the pawn with the queen. I briefly considered it, but I didn't think that the queen would be good here. So I thought I have to go g3, and then I thought just h5 and then h4. And if I go h4, maybe there's even g5. Like the engine thinks that it's premature a little bit here, but later on it will be definitely an idea, and pushing like this and breaking through. And if I take here, for example, the rook joins the action, and already like black is very menacingly attacking here. So I calculated lots of different variations. I thought maybe I go b3, maybe I go queen h3. Also, I thought queen g4, but then I calculated that if queen g4, knight f6, and then rook here, and if here, then knight here. And it's a double attack on the queen and on the h2 pawn, and the engine agrees that black is better here. Even Maxim Vashela Graf once in Blitz fell into this trap, actually. I analyzed this after the game. So queen g4 is no good. Queen h3, I didn't like the move. b3, I didn't like the move. I thought maybe I go queen e3 and prepare the f4 push, but the problem is if queen here, if I go f4, there is c4. My bishop is attacked, and later on this will be not good because I will lose the queen. So I calculated all this stuff, and I was like, what the hell, why don't I know what to play in the opening that I play? I was frustrated, and I went rook e1 because I decided I'll put the bishop here, because most likely he will go h5, queen c7, and I will have to go g3, and then the bishop will be good here. So this is the logic, but the engine doesn't really like this move. Queen c7, g3, knight e7, bishop retreats back. This is logical. I will fine shadow my bishop. Yes, I spent some time moving the bishop, but what to do? So he moves the knight here. He wants to go here, winning a tempo, attacking the queen and the pawn. So I anticipate this dropping back with the queen. And he goes h5. Yes, he wants to blast open my position on the h file and easily win, because he's much higher rated, he's much stronger than me, a very renowned young player. But I'm not going to roll over and die. I go f4, which is a bad move according to the engine. It's a mistake. It worsens my position. The engine says that I should just like not cuddle, what's the word, protect myself at all costs, try to take a defensive stance, but I did not like it. I decided I need some counterplay, and practically speaking, I still think that this was the correct decision. You will see later on this pawn played an important role. So, but the problem with this move is that now my king is very weak. Both diagonals, if they open this will lead to bad consequences for me. But first of all, he goes h4, pushes the pawn. He doesn't need to castle for the time being. His rook will be participating in the attack, very likely. I go e5, trying to at least create the connect 4. I've won the connect 4 game, but we are playing chess. He draws back. I go knight e4. The engine is merciless, saying that this is an inaccuracy, but I needed to activate my knight and also wanted to push the pawns like here to create the classic pyramid, you know. That's very aesthetically pleasing, at least. And strong center gives me some counterplay, so that's what I'm going to do. He takes, I take. He goes b6. As I said, he wants to use this diagonal as well as that diagonal, but that diagonal, the dark squared diagonal, is unavailable to him for the time being, so at least now I have some time to create my pyramid, which I do. So look at this this beautiful structure, very nice. But my dark squared bishop is very sad because it's not seeing light of day. All these pawns restricted, but they also restrict the opponent's dark squared bishop, so it's not so easy. But you will see by the time spent that I'm really like struggling with my position. I know that I'm much worse already out of the opening, but I want to create some counterplay. That's why I spent so much time calculating different options. I will not show you all of them, otherwise you will think I just have gone mad. So he takes, I take, and now he goes knight b4, and suddenly one imprecise move and I'm back in the game. Now it's close to equal. So apparently he had to blast the position with f5, opening this diagonal, and if I take this opens, and then probably g5 some in future. We've discussed briefly after the game, and he said that he was considering this move, but for some reason he decided to go knight b4. And actually this looks like a threat because it's a fork, but a fork in two rooks, but in fact turns out it's not a threat. I go bishop d2, which is the best move according to the engine, and it turns out that if he goes here, I'll just pin him and win. So he doesn't have any squares for the knight because this is controlled by the bishop. This is controlled. This will be a pin, as I said. So probably he will have to put the knight on d5. But what is the knight doing there? Blocking the bishop. So I started feeling like I'm not enjoying my position too much, but at least I have some counter chances, and the engine approves. The engine says that black should trade and go into an endgame already here, which is like not what black wants, obviously. So instead of that, he goes bishop d5. He wants to create a battery on the long diagonal and try to somehow open it up, maybe go f5 later on and checkmate me. But I'm not one to just stand idly. I want my own ideas and counterplay. So I decided that my dark squared bishop is bad, and I trade it for the knight, which is active for black. And now I win a tempo by activating the rook, attacking the queen. And once the queen moves in the position for the battery, I realize that he's not actually threatening to take my rook, because the bishop should control this square, because this will be a fork. Like I will win the queen. So he does not have the luxury of taking my rook. So this is where he started thinking. He started like disliking his position, and this is where he went wrong. I went bishop g5, so protecting this diagonal, and my bishop is nicely positioned here. I am defending the knight. If he takes, I will take back with the knight, with the bishop, and win some material. So even though I wouldn't probably even take this rook because that would be dangerous, but that's one of the ideas. But here he started thinking, and he didn't like his position, because what to do? He cannot castle long. That would have been ideal for him, but my rook prevents this. If he castles short, he will get attacked like queen h5, and some unpleasantries might happen to him on the king side. So the best move according to the engine is king f8 or king e7, which is a hard move to make if you're not a Bone Cloud player. So instead, he makes the human thing. He just retreats, like overprotecting his king, but this is a mistake, and I immediately exploit it. f5, which is the best move in the position. I blast open the position. This is just utilizing classical principles that my coach taught me. Whenever your opponent's king is in the center, you should blast open the position. You should open up the center. This is very logical. If you know this, then you find f5, because it's like the only logical move in the position, how to blast open the center, f5. And I calculated that if he takes, I have 96, checking the king, and he will have to take with the bishop. Then I take with the pawn, and it's a discovered check. And if he moves with the king to d8, for example, or f8, I have rook c7, because my pawn is defending the c7 square. And this is what I calculated. I spent some time analyzing this position in my head, and I thought that I should be very much better, and the engine agrees. This is exactly what happens. Takes, check, takes, discover check by the rook, and instead of going with the king somewhere here or here, which is losing, he finds the best move, bishop e4. So this is good, because if I take, he will just take back, and he's still in the game, even though white is better now. But I find also a good move. Actually, the engine says it's the second best option, but still it's not spoiling the position. d5. I'm cutting the coordination of the queen and the bishop. This beautiful battery no longer exists, because if I go rook c7 now, attacking the queen, then there is a strong queen d5 move, and black is suddenly better. So I have to cut the coordination, so d5, but more precise was taking first and then going d5. But this is like some subtleties. And here he castles, and suddenly I'm winning. This is his only blunder in the game, by the way. Suddenly I'm winning, but I have to be precise. So first I take. He takes, I go rook c7. It's important first, before taking this, to kick his queen, because if I take first, he has the time to activate his rooks, and now he is suddenly better. So he's back in the game. But it's very important that I have this rook c7 in between move. He has to go back. Now his pieces are all passive, and I'm taking his pawn, and suddenly I'm winning. And I realize that I'm very much better, and he has spent lots of time. You remember I was very much late to the game, 30 minutes late, almost, and now the time is close to equal, because he's thinking, he's trying to find something, how to hold on, how to create counter chances, but he realizes, I see by his facial expressions, that he's in deep trouble, and he goes rook a8, which is not the best move, but like understandably he wants to create some counterplay. If I take, for example, he'll take back, and again black is now better, but of course I do not allow him the activation of these pieces. Originally, I wanted to go rook h4 here, and it is winning. According to the engine, it's the best move. It's very logical. I go rook h4, and then I go queen here and queen here, or queen here, and checkmate him. But I didn't like the move. I think I didn't like the move rook e5 here, preventing queen h5. And if I go queen here, I didn't like, I think, g6, preventing this. But what I didn't realize is the fact that here I have queen h2 infiltrating like this. So this nice geometry of the board, I forgot about queen h2. This resource wins me the game, because then he'll get crushed on the h file. So I should have found it, and I felt that rook h4 should be winning, but I did not see, like, I saw rook e5, I saw queen c2 and g6, and I did not see queen h2, this nice geometry. But okay, I went queen c2 first, which is a mistake, but it's not like fatal, because still I'm very much better. He goes b5, apparently also a mistake. He should have taken the rook first. But he goes b5, which is understandable. He wants to check me like this and win this pawn and get the queen back into the game. And here again, rook h4 would be winning. And I was calculating rook h4 here, and I calculated that if I go here, he checks me definitely. And if I go here, now this is a threat, but he has a strong move f5. And actually this is correct. The engine says that this is now equal, because if I take, my queen will get pinned and I will lose. So black has some counter chances. For example, rook d7, I calculated this, queen e3. This is the position that I had in my mind, and I was like, who's playing for a win? Probably not me, because my king is so weak, and the engine says it's around equal, so I needn't go for this, obviously. But what I neglected to see was the fact that after this check, so rook h4, actually rook e7 also was winning. Wow, rook e7 I didn't consider in this position. I considered it in a different position. But rook h4, after queen here, I have the only winning move, king g2. And I briefly considered the fact that I can go either to f1 or g2, but I thought that, again, g6, and if I go here trying to checkmate him over there, then he has this counterplay. But turns out the checks are like finite. So after this, there is only one winning move, but I could find it. So if this, for example, this will be a draw, perpetual check like this. Very nice. Rook sacrifice, and I cannot escape, because if I go up, this is checkmate. So you could lose this. So this would have been a beautiful perpetual check for him. But instead of going up, I can go down, and I'm winning, because after f6, again, I could take, but even more beautiful is rook h8 check, and I win everything with checks, and later on I will check him like this and win the rook and the game. So yeah, but it's complicated, and it's hard to calculate all this with limited time on the clock. And I really didn't want to give him any counterplay with this queen b6, and I didn't find the right idea. Turns out rook e7 also was winning, because if he takes and goes here, well, he has no threats. I will go d6 next, and if he checks me first and takes the pawn, there is a very strong no, there is not king g2. I calculated king g2 and thought that like rook e7 doesn't work, but there is queen f2. Wow, because the queen is like, he has to trade the queens. He cannot take the pawn because he'll be checkmated like this. So nice geometry. Again, I missed it. Unfortunately, I should have seen it. Definitely should have seen it at my level. But instead of that, after b5, which is a mistake, but practically speaking a good move, I do not go rook h4. I do not go rook e7. Two moves that win. I do not go for them. Instead, I take the pawn, and I'm still better. But unfortunately, this gets very tricky because he checks me. And then he takes the rook and goes queen c5. And at first glance, the engine says I'm winning. But then, after having thought for some time, the engine says that there are lots of checks, and like the only way to move here, to win here, is to go queen e5, which is similar to what happened in the game, but a little bit different version. And after he starts checking me, I can run and I can hide, and me and him gonna touch the sky, as they say. King e4. Wow, this is crazy. It's very dangerous to do this in a practical game. Of course, with the engine, I can say that this is winning, easily winning. The engine is laughing. Checks are finite. Again, the king is running over there. Wow, this is crazy. And if this, king c6, wow. And if this, king b6, and if this, king b7, I would have never played this. And if this, and if this, and if this, and if this. Wow, it's impossible to calculate this sequence, but this would have been winning. So queen a5. Of course, I did not see it. I went b4, and now he has annoying checks, lots of annoying checks. Turns out queen c3 is the move that he played, and he has the idea of checking me like this and then like this, and I cannot find shelter. The engine on low depth thinks that I'm a little bit better, but on high depth, it doesn't find the win for white. So I go queen f3. I resign myself to this fact that probably it will be a perpetual check now, but this is not over. He checks me. I go down. He checks me. I go up. He checks me. I block. I try to avoid the perpetual check. For example, if he goes here and then continues checking me like this, I have this blocking and attacking f7, and suddenly he has to trade the queens, and I go into winning rook endgame. That was my trap. But he did not go for this. Instead, after king g1, he went rook c7, rook c8, pardon me. And this is a threat, and I have to trade the rooks. And suddenly, takes, queen check. He's winning a pawn with a check, and I cannot stop it. So I go king h2, he takes, and we enter into a queen endgame, which is dead equal according to the engines, but actually anyone can win this. Most likely black is playing for a win because my king is so weak. At any point in time, black can deliver a perpetual check whenever my queen leaves the defense of the king. In queen endgames, there are two important factors to consider, guys. This will be very instructive for you. First is king safety. Very important in queen endgames in particular. In rook endgames, nobody cares about the king. The king should serve an active role, play an active role. But in queen endgames, you should hide your king, because whenever the king is not hidden, it will get checked, perpetually checked, or maybe even checkmated. So king safety, number one factor. Number two factor is passed pawns. I have one of them, but unfortunately, he will just be able to block it very soon and probably win it, even in some variations. So I have to be very precise to not lose this against a stronger opponent, having 43 seconds on the clock against his 20 minutes. So can I hold this? Maybe can I trick him or win it? Let's see. Queen e4, centralizing the queen. Now, this is actually, from now on, there will be around 50 moves, and I don't make a single mistake in them. Can you believe this? Let's check it out. So he moves the king, I move the queen. He offers me this pawn, but if I take it, he will win my pawn with check, my passed pawn, my my beauty, the pride of my position. So of course I do not trade those pawns. I check him. I go here. Very importantly, I cannot allow the queen trade. If the queens disappear, his king goes here, my king goes here, and he has a so-called how is it called? Like passed pawn, far away passed pawn potentially, and remote passed pawn, probably this is the term in English. And he's most likely winning in the pawn endgame. So I cannot trade the queens, and he has lots of tricks to like check me and trade the queens with checks. That is his idea. Probably he's playing for a win. Also, I have no time. This is crazy. I like everything was, you know, like tingling in this position. I was like very, very nervous, but I was making the good moves. So he checks me. I go here. He goes here. I cannot trade in this position. I will not be even in time to stop the passed pawn. So of course I do not trade. I check him. Now I go here. He checks me. I go here. He goes here. By the way, it's very tricky. If I go here, for example, he will check me and make me trade the queens and win the position. So probably that's not good. So I go down. He goes here. I check him. I go back. He goes here. I wait. I go a3. And now he checks me with a king. Very beautiful. Discover check with a king. And I realize suddenly that if I go here, it's not very good, because he goes here and he goes here and he wins one of the pawns, and it's probably still a draw with precise play, but he's up a pawn in the queen endgame. Not good. So instead of that, I go g4, which is weakening my king, but I have to do something not to lose the pawn. And I decide that sometimes, maybe in some variations, I will give up my d pawn for the f pawn and try to take the g pawn, and I will have a pass pawn of my own, the g pawn. Another pass pawn will replace the previous one, which is very important. You will see it. So he goes f5. If I take, he's winning because he checks me like this, and then he trades the queens with check and wins this endgame. So I cannot take. Only move is g5. Now he goes here. He is threatening to take all my pawns. What do? I'm not afraid. I check him and I take the g6 pawn. And now I have this passed pawn. Doesn't matter that he is up a pawn. My passed pawn is further advanced, which is more important in pawn endgames, in queen endgames. Obviously, he has perpetual checks, but by this point, I've resigned myself to the fact that I'm not playing for a win. I'm playing for a draw. He takes my pawn with check. Okay, I go here. Now he can take another pawn, but this will not help him. Will only help me, because I will take his pawn and I will be playing for a win with, yeah, probably still a draw, but my pawn is further advanced. Instead, he continues harassing my king. He checks me like this. He checks me like this. He checks me like this. Checks me like this. Checks me like this. And now he pushes f4. And I realize that I'm in deep trouble, because if he puts f3 on the board, then this will be a checkmate threat. And I will have to try harassing his king now. So I check him. I check him. I check him. And now I realize I have a trap. I check him like this. I say, take my pawn. Because if you do, I will check you like this. And I will trade the queens, following which my pawn will queen and yours won't. So this will be a win for me, which is why he cannot take this pawn, because that would allow a beautiful geometry of check. So he has to stay glued to this pawn. But now he's running away. Actually, I got too carried away. This was not precise. I should have checked him like this, and then we would have repeated the moves, because if he goes here, then I have again queen e4, and that would have been a draw. But instead of doing this, I hurry. I have no time. I panic. I go here, and I forget that he can escape now with his king, and it's still a draw, but with like I have to be very precise. Here I check him like this. Again, if he takes, I have queen e1, so he doesn't take, he goes here. I check him from here, he goes here. I check him from here, he goes here. I check him from here, he goes here. Suddenly it's very dangerous. I push g6, only move. Great move according to the ancient. And he pushes f3. Now there is a threat on the board. Queen g2 check, only move king e3, queen e2 checkmate. Another threat is queen g2 check, king here, f2, if my queen suddenly leaves this defense of the square. Also winning for black. So I have to do something. I continue checking, check, check. Now another threat. If he takes another trap, I would say, if he takes this, this is a shish kebab winning the queen, so he cannot take my pawn. But he finds this move.
And around here is where I see that he's like happy about his position. He sees that he is winning this pawn. He's winning this pawn because I don't have any more checks. I have to continue checking him. Otherwise, he will just queen and win or deliver checkmate. So I have to continue checking him. But once I checked him, he can now take this pawn and I have nothing. But I realized in this position, he went to grab some water. He had 7 more minutes. I have just 50 seconds. But I realize I have no moves. My king is in a stalemate position, potentially. My pawn cannot move. My king has no legal moves. So I find a study-like draw, queen h6. And he realizes that he's not winning this. He's not winning this because he's not escaping the checks from my queen. And here we agree to a draw because if he takes, I have no legal moves. This is a stalemate. Beautiful game. Obviously, I'm unhappy that I did not win, but I'm happy that I did not lose. And I gained some rating points. And this is one of the tournament leaders, seeded number 2, I think, in the event. So one of the strongest players in my section, under 2400. So yeah, how did you like the game? Check out the first round if you didn't already. The video is in this channel. And thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Don't forget to comment, guys.